Apple's greatest rival in the smartphone industry is no doubt Samsung. So today we'll be putting Apple's latest and greatest flagship, the iPhone 14 Pro Max, against Samsung's almighty Galaxy S22 Ultra in my newly reformatted speed test. The iPhone is rocking Apple's latest 4nm run hexa-core A16 Bionic Chipset with two main cores clocked at 3.46 GHz, while the Samsung is running Qualcomm's flagship 4nm run octa-core Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chip with only one main core clocked at 3 GHz. Both devices are kitted with LPDDR5 RAM, but while the iPhone has just 6 gigs of it, the Samsung has double that at 12 gigs. They have both been updated to their latest available stable software updates, and they are both ready to go head-to-head in this extremely detailed speed test. This is TechNick, and without further ado, let's go! We're going to be kickstarting the first round off, that being boot and biometrics, off with a boot to see which one boots up faster. It is indeed the 14 Pro Max with 14.53 seconds as opposed to over 24 seconds on the Samsung, also picking up its second point when going into the device itself. Now we're going to be testing out biometrics, testing out the secure biometrics of both devices, that being the ultrasonic fingerprint sensor of the Samsung as opposed to the 3D facial recognition system of the iPhone. The Samsung was quicker every single time, best out of 3 there, picking up its first point. Now testing a 3D face unlock on the iPhone as opposed to 2D face unlock on the Samsung, the iPhone was quicker every single time there, picking up its third and final point in round 1. In the first round, that being boot and biometrics. I have used a lux meter reader over here so that we can ensure that both phones are set to the exact same brightness level, because we will be testing out a battery percentage at the start. Now don't worry too much about the percentage as it is right now. We'll see how much it drains throughout the test and then get a milliamp hour per minute reading at the end of the test. We're also testing out temperatures. Don't worry too much about temperatures at the start. We're going to see how much it gains in terms of degrees Celsius at the end. Kickstarting the speed round off with the clock app over here. The iPhone picked up its first and second points over there, and hitting the start timer, the Samsung picked up its first points. Next, system app on both devices, first party apps over here, the first 4 that being, going into calculator, way too close to call between them. And now I just want to know your opinion over here. Doing this calculation within calculator, I went over and over and over again. The iPhone looks quicker, but the Samsung has a second animation jumping the 17 result up to the top. So I didn't allocate a point. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Going into the camera app, it was a little close to call. There's so many different variables, but the iPhone definitely flipped to the selfie camera quicker and took the snap and saved it to gallery quicker than that of the Samsung. Going into our last system app here, that being the Photos app, while the one opened it up quicker than the other one loaded the page quicker when opening up the photo, so no point was allocated there. And going into Photoshop Express, the iPhone was the clear winner, picking up its 6th point. Now going into a photo in Photoshop, the iPhone picks up its 7th point. Now speeding past the Samsung Galaxy S22 Ultra, saving it to gallery, however, was quicker on the S22 Ultra, even though it uses subpar UFS 3.1 storage. Not really subpar, still fantastic storage, but as opposed to the NVMe storage on the iPhone, it stands no chance, but Samsung has something else to say in terms of that. And when it comes to opening up Premiere Rush over here, another Adobe app, this one being for video editing, the iPhone picked up another 2 points by opening it up and opening up the project quicker. Now we're going to be rendering this 4K 25 frames per second clip. We're going to be keeping it at 4K and keeping it at 25 FPS, hitting export. Now NVMe usually wins every single time on the iPhone, but this time the UFS storage on the Samsung actually beat it with 10.18 seconds as opposed to over 12 seconds on the iPhone 14 Pro Max. So far we have 9 points on the iPhone and 4 points on the Samsung. The Samsung now on 5 points by opening up Spotify quicker, and quite a lot quicker that is. But going into the song, let's see which one is going to open up the song that we have at the bottom of the screen currently playing quicker. It is indeed the iPhone now with 10 points, double the points as opposed to the Samsung. Now they both did release in the same year, and finally Apple is running on 4nm process node technology, matching that of the Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chipset that we see in my Snapdragon version S22 Ultra. And we're currently in Chrome right now. I didn't give a point when opening it up because one of them opened the app up quicker, the other one loaded the page quicker, so no point was allocated. But the Samsung did do the search quicker. They're hooked to the same Wi-Fi network, but it did search quicker, so now it picked up its 6th point, now narrowing the gap between it and the iPhone. Now 7 points after opening up Facebook, a hell of a lot quicker than that of the iPhone. But going into my profile, the iPhone picks up its 11th point, which kind of starts a trend that's going to be happening with the next fleet of social media apps, that being the Samsung opening up the app quicker almost every single time, and the iPhone opening up content within the app quicker than that of the Samsung. So the iPhone seems to be quicker within the apps, and the Samsung seems to be quicker by opening up the apps, as you can see right now with Twitter. It's doing a great job by picking up its 9th point, really closing the gap between it and the iPhone, just a 3-point difference over there. But once again, the iPhone does a better job jumping into my profile on Twitter, picking up its 13th point, now extending the gap with 13 points as opposed to 9. Once again, narrowing the gap, the Samsung picks up its 10th point, 3-point gap once again, but going into my profile, the iPhone picks up another point, bringing it up to 14 points, 4-point gap once again. And going into our next app over here, that being YouTube. Now, we all know that YouTube is a Google app, and Google makes Android, which is on the Samsung, so no doubt it opens up quicker. They're picking up its 11th point. Once again, a 3-point difference. But going into my channel, weirdly enough, the iPhone picks up its 15th point, now a 4-point gap. Once again, it is going faster within the app, but the Samsung is getting into the app quicker than that of the iPhone. Same thing with Netflix over here, opening it up quicker, but there are different animations because of optimizations with the app for iOS on iPhones. And jumping into one of the profiles, the Samsung was quicker again. So it was actually quicker that time within an app, picking up its 13th point, now just a 2-point difference. It's getting really, really close here. And going into our first benchmark, that being Geekbench version 5, 14 points on the Samsung, 15 on the iPhone, just a 1-point difference in terms of speed. Which one is gonna claim the crown over here? And ending it off, the iPhone picks up its 16th point, doing Geekbench in just 1 minute and 43 seconds, as opposed to 2 minutes and 39 seconds, almost a whole minute slower on the Samsung. And the iPhone has a much better single and multi-core score when compared to that of the Samsung. Though we have seen that in the past. Every single year, time after time, we always see better Geekbench results on Apple iPhones as opposed to Android devices. Going into 3D Mark Wildlife, the iPhone opened it up quicker that time around, strangely enough, 17 points as opposed to 14 on the Samsung. Running through 3D Mark Wildlife Extremia, we got 18 points now on the iPhone with 1 minute and 6 seconds as opposed to 1 minute and 11 seconds on the Samsung. And the FPS average over there, over 20 on the iPhone as opposed to 13.4 FPS on average on the Samsung. That is a huge difference for a smartphone, or for both smartphones that have released within the same year, running both of them 4nm process node technology-driven chipsets. iPhone picks up its 19th point, really pulling ahead here after going into Subway Surfers with 2 seconds, 2.36 seconds as opposed to 4.14 seconds, almost twice as fast opening up a game on the iPhone as opposed to the Samsung. Going into our third last app here, our second game, that is third last game, Asphalt 9. Tad bit quicker on the iPhone, just a smidge, both of them just over 15 seconds that time around. And going into the actual game, which one is going to be quicker? You can clearly see here that the iPhone 14 Pro Max is going quicker at getting into games, and once in a game, getting into playing the game. So any gaming freaks out there like me, you're definitely going to want to pick up the iPhone for getting into a game and getting into the action as quick as possible. 21 points now on the iPhone as opposed to 14. Not so long ago, there was just 1 point difference between them in the speed test section of this video. Now there is a massive 7 points advantage towards the iPhone. Going into Call of Duty Mobile, many of you guys have asked me to include this in my speed test, and now I have. Once again, very similar opening times there, though the iPhone did snag another point there, being 22 points. Literally within a second of each other though. And going into the game, once again, the iPhone jumps into the action a hell of a lot quicker than that of the Samsung, now picking up its 23rd points as opposed to 14 points on the Samsung. Almost a 10-point difference between the two phones over here. Getting into our last game, that of course being Free Fire. You guys have gone crazy over this game for the past year or so, and getting into the action once again quicker is the iPhone with 10.57 seconds as opposed to 13.49 seconds on the Samsung, picking up its 24th point, now 25th point by getting into the game quicker. And now going into a training mode over here, which one is it going to be? Is the Samsung gonna fall back? No, it actually doesn't. It actually closes the gap and ends off the speed test section just 10 points shy of the new iPhone. They are similarly priced phones, so these guys are in very much the same category, and the iPhone is absolutely destroying the S22 Ultra. Really interested to see what happens with the S23 Ultra, that is, so stay tuned for that video. Now, in the RAM management section, we're going in reverse order. So we went from the top to the bottom, now we're going from the bottom back to the top in a mirror kind of way, since this seems to be the most accurate. They kept the last two games open, but they both killed Asphalt 9 Legends over here, and going into Subway Surfers, they both kept it open as well. Remember, the Samsung does have a lot more RAM, double that at 12 gigs as opposed to the 6 gigs on the iPhone, but all previous iPhones have been stuck at LPDDR4X RAM modules. This year we have LPDDR5 RAM modules, which is matching that of the Samsung, and they're both keeping majority of apps open in the background. One or two here that they kill, but they kill them together. Only allocated points if one phone keeps it open and another phone kills the app, or vice versa. And as of right now, they've all kept open the same apps, and if they do kill an app, they kill them together. It's like they're working in sync here. They're in perfect harmony at the moment. Sometimes an app does open up on a phone, but it looks like it's being killed. I can assure you it hasn't been killed. Sometimes it just reverts to the home screen, but it doesn't show the loading icon that you usually see when you open an app when you initially open it. So they are keeping all of them open. One app that they did both kill, however, was the camera app, but they did both keep calculator open as well as the clock app. So it's really good to see that both devices have kept all of these apps open in the background with no issues whatsoever. Now, we did record temperature at the start of the test, and checking it at the end of the test, we have a gain of 7.5 degrees Celsius on the iPhone 14 Pro Max, which is actually slightly less than the last speed test that I did, and a massive gain of 11.2 degrees Celsius on the Samsung, so the iPhone is definitely keeping things cooler. Now, the biggest difference between these two is arguably battery life, since Apple have come a really far way in the past couple of years, only draining by 4% as opposed to draining by 7% on the Samsung. So overall score over here, we're looking at 28 points on the iPhone 14 Pro Max as opposed to just 16 points on the Galaxy S22 Ultra. The Galaxy S22 Ultra did hold its own quite well throughout the test. I'm not gonna lie, sometimes I even thought it was gonna surpass the iPhone, but it didn't. It got just 1 point in the first round, that being boots and biometrics, as opposed to the 3 points that we saw on the iPhone. And when it came to the speed test section, we got a crazy 25 points on the iPhone as opposed to a mere 15 points on the Samsung. But I would be lying if I said that the Samsung wasn't giving the iPhone a run for its money, because they both did fantastically well. But at the end of the day, are you gonna notice much of a difference in your day-to-day tasks? No, you probably won't notice a difference at all. But this test is still interesting nonetheless, because the crown king is still the iPhone 14 Pro Max for the foreseeable future, unless something comes around and snags that crown. Let me know your thoughts on this video. Stay tuned for more just like this. This is TechNick, and I'll catch you in the next one.